All the weeping lasted all night. I know that joy comes in the morning light. So I'll march on to a new song, 'cause I've been marching to that old one way too long. And I gotta move on and take new steps every day, 'cause I know there has got to be another way and a brighter day. So I march on.
Hello. It is Friday night, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, and you are exactly where you're supposed to be. And for those of you that don't know, we start off with our sponsors before we get into it, but we do have a very special guest today, because that's what we do on the show, right? So first, let's get down with our sponsors. Here we go. All right. I'm sorry. I see we already having fun in the comments. Okay. And just so you guys know, that organization I am also a part of. They are awesome people. Um, and they are dealing with females, so it's a sisterhood. They help get you started, get you focused on what it is that you want to do. They help you accomplish those goals. They helped me get the show started. When I said that I needed people to subscribe to my channel, all of them chipped in and did so. Like, this is a sisterhood you want to be a part of. Trust. So if you decide to go ahead and check them out, let them know Asia sent you. Next, we got Motive Cosmetics. Yes, honey. And I wear Motive Cosmetics. Thank you very much. And we're also going to talk about this Abella eyewear. Boom. We got blue blockers. We got some shades. We stay stylish. And if you want your pair of Abella eyewear, or if you want Motive Cosmetics, all you got to do is go to my website, asiajamal.com or .net. I own them both. And you can click on Motive Cosmetics or Bella Eyewear. With the Bella Eyewear, you get 30% off if you go through my website. You're welcome. So we're gonna get started, and we're gonna bring in this wonderful guest, Cerise. I gotta tell you, I was just like straight up blown away when I was reading about her because she's not a typical anything. I mean, she's just all around different, and that's what we're looking for on this show. You feel me? So let's go and give a round of applause and a warm welcome to Miss Cerise.
Hello,
Welcome. Hello. How are you?
I am well. How are you doing
I
this
am
evening?
so glad. I'm good. I'm so glad you decided to join us today. Cause you're awesome.
Oh, well, thank
So,
you.
so we are going to dig in. I think I know who this is blowing up the
Dre
comments.
has. Hey.
But yes, so what I want to do is first give you an opportunity to introduce yourself.
Okay, well, I mean, you started off, I think, capturing it perfectly. I'm not any one particular thing. I'm a Denver native. I'm born and obviously native, but I have resided here in Colorado for the past 40 years, and have done a number of things in my lifetime, and the most recent is graduating from acupuncture school. I'm working towards my license. So I have one exam down, two to go. Special shout out to my family who supported me through that process, my mom, my fiance, my son, and extended family, my godmother, and a host of other people. That was a whole tribe. It was a whole village that took it to make that happen. Um,
That's
so
awesome.
working on that, and martial arts. I started that when I was 9. My mom put me in a youth program that was a rites of passage program, and that was a pivotal moment in my life that really spun everything on its head. And the organization was Moyo and Guvu Cultural and Healing Arts Center, and it was founded by Dr. Stephen Meeks, and so he was my mentor, my godfather, and sparked a whole, like I said, chain of events with traditional Chinese medicine and martial arts. So I guess we'll
A
get into the
whole
rest
lot.
of it
Yes, we will.
as
Yes,
we
we
go
will.
on.
Okay, so let's start from the very beginning of the little series. Let's start from there. Um, so yes, you have mentioned that you are a native. I'm curious about this. Okay, so as everyone knows, I always have my guests send me bios, and I don't know what that means. And and in this bio, you said that at the age of 9, while participating in the Children's Rites of Passage program facilitated
Yeah,
by, I don't know how to say that name. You're gonna have to do it for me.
for me,
Um,
I'll be
what I want to understand is what is the Children's Rites of Passage? What is that?
okay. So the Children's Rites of Passage program was a program by that nonprofit that I mentioned before, and it was designed to help facilitate the process. So in African traditions, we would always have a rite that us from childhood into adulthood. So the nonprofit Rites of Passage program included African drumming, African dance, martial arts, financial literacy, health and nutrition, and arts and media. So that was a African ensemble that did drumming and percussive instruments, and there was an ensemble that also toured. But the Rites of Passage program was usually maybe like a 6 to 8 week intensive, and each part of that intensive included each one of those components that I mentioned before. And then there was a graduation ceremony. So that was like your crossing over and encouraging the youth. It was all about youth empowerment. So understanding that you have a role, and a core fundamental part of that was like each one teach one. So the older students that maybe have participated before were responsible for sharing or mentoring the younger students that came along. And so it was just a great opportunity to, at the base level, have those experiences. I don't know too many programs at that time. That was back in the 90s. That was talking about financial literacy and health and wellness. Excuse me, holistic health and wellness.
So let's back this up for a second. You were 9
Yes.
doing all of this. Did you do normal stuff? Like did you like, play outside with the kids, jump rope or
Yes, absolutely. So this was like during the summertime, so it would happen during the day, but absolutely I'm one of my favorite things to do was ride my bike around the neighborhood, and as soon as I could get outside to be on my bike, then I was there. And if I wasn't doing that, then I would like to play basketball too.
oh, okay, you got some normalcy somewhere in there.
Somewhere.
All right. And again, you guys feel free to leave comments and ask questions. I am watching. Pay attention. All right. So, was it something that you enjoyed in this Children's Rites of Passage program? Was it something that you're like, oh wow, yes, I'm really enjoying this, or was it something that you had to grow to love?
No, I loved it because it was the cultural link that I was looking for. So um, I just have always had a passion for history and our history specifically. So, excuse me, a lot of the stories about my family directly of who we were and what we came from, but also just our roots and the the continent of Africa as we know it now.
Mhm.
But those were always important to me, and a call. It was something that kind of called me. So in that way, I kind of met the program, and the program kind of met me. It was a organic pairing, I'll say.
Okay, okay.
And it was fun. It was a lot of fun. So we did a lot of activities and went on a lot of excursions to the Museum of Nature and Science. So it was like something fun to do, and definitely getting to hang out with a for a long time. For the first 10 years of my life, I was an only child. So um,
Oh, the first
so
10 years of your life.
yeah.
So after 10 years, you got a sibling?
Yes, yes. I always tease with my mom because I would always beg her, a sister or brother, and then once we kind of crossed a certain point, I had given up hope. I was like, okay, well, I guess it's just gonna be me. And
Right.
lo and behold, here came along my sister. And if she's watching, hi, Kayla.
Wow, that's quite a. I can't say too much though, because I have two sisters that are 9 years older than me, so it's the age gap.
Now I have an older sister, and she's actually another 10 years older than me, so we're all 10 years apart, ironically.
Okay.
Yep.
I understand needing a break, but wow. Okay, okay. Um, so, it appears that according to your bio that you can fight. I saw that you got a black belt, and then I see your second degree black belt. And what?
Yeah, only when absolutely necessary. We try not to pull that card unless we have to throw them hands.
Throw them hands. Well, second degree black belt,
Yeah,
you know how to throw more than
a
hands.
little bit.
A
Yes,
little bit.
yes. So that was the same program. So that my introduction at 9, I took a break for a little while and then came back after I graduated high school in college, and ironically, that story that led me to to my black belt, I remember my instructor, my mentor coming to me, and we were just, I was training, but it was just, something that helped me, the physical activity of it. And I just enjoyed that part. I had no intentions of getting my black belt. And I remember him telling me, I think you would make a good candidate for a black belt. And so I had learned about that black belt process, which is not like all the others. So the style of martial arts is called Kubigana and Gumi. I know it's a mouthful to say,
Mm-hmm.
but it's called Kubigana and Gumi. So the translation is to use the body as a fist or to use the body as a weapon. And it's a 2 day exam. So the first day is a written exam, and the second day is a 8 hour physical assessment or physical exam. So you're in it for the you're in it. So when he was explaining it to me, I was like, why would anybody want to sign up for that? I appreciate it, and that's so nice and lovely, but I'm gonna have to respectfully decline. And so he didn't push it, he didn't force it or anything. He just said, okay, all right. And next thing I know, I I got my first degree black belt. I got my black belt, and then by that time I was already married to the art, and um,
Wow. Well, I see a question for you. Have you ever had to use your martial arts in a real life situation?
that's a great question. So honestly, I use my martial arts every day. That is so the system of Kubigana and Gumi, and really any martial system, is about the cultivation of your mind, your body, and your spirit. And so, all of the key concepts that you're going to learn that you're going to do with a physical movement can be applied in your day to day. So, strategy, thinking ahead, planning, discipline, mindfulness, all of those things. So, in that way, I use my martial art every day. Had to use it earlier today, as a matter of fact, or earlier this week.
Okay, okay. But I'm sure there's some people that's wondering the other side. Like, have you
Of
had to kick some butt? That's what they want to
um,
know.
I haven't had to actually throw my hands. I was in a situation where in my earlier on, just hanging out with friends and on my way leaving a club, and a guy that was there, he I guess just didn't really know how to take no for an answer. So he had approached me in the club, and I had, said, thank you, I'm not interested. And so it seemed to be a respectful situation, until we got outside. And so he's like, well, I'll just walk you to your car. And, he said, well, um, I think, we should really consider, us doing something together, and, you being my girlfriend. And I said, I'm not looking for a boyfriend right now, or, I'm not looking to be in a relationship right now. And so he grabbed my arm and he was like, you don't know what you want, or you don't know what you need. And so at that point, I had to assess all of the situation. So it's at night, we're in the parking lot. It's not a lot of people around. So I got serious real quick. And so I just basically told him, if you don't let me go, you're going to have to go back into the club with a black eye and have to tell everybody that you got beat up by a girl. And so, of course, he let my arm go, and then, called me out my name. But that was I wasn't concerned about that. It was just more so getting home safely. So um what he didn't know,
Yeah.
because he was close enough, it would have made it, if I did have to do something, him touching me or being that close would have given me a little bit more of an advantage. But as a the other thing that I think is important for people to remember is, just because in martial arts, or even as a woman, I would never intentionally put myself in a situation where I would have to go blows with anybody, really, but specifically me against another man, because it's just not something that you really want to do. And there is a difference, even, like women, woman power all day, but there is a difference. And unless you absolutely have to. That's not a situation you want to find out what it's all about, at that time. So
Yeah, yeah. I can definitely relate. So I hear you. Except I'm not as skilled as you. I know some karate, and that's about the extent of it for me.
you probably surprised what you remember in a situation. Stuff comes up that you wouldn't even know that you remember. But if you had it, it's in there somewhere, depending on how long you did it.
That's true. That's true. I know. I shocked myself when I flipped somebody over, and they were so much bigger than me, and I was like, oh. I'm like, okay, now what? So yeah, yeah, I remember some things. I was taught by somebody that is was an instructor. Let me see, he was a black
Okay.
belt master. He was a master. Um, but that's my uncle. Ed, just in case you
Oh,
see this,
okay.
I want to make sure that you got your props just in case you watch. Okay. So what I'm wondering is, okay, so you got really engulfed into this culture, you did all of these
Mm-hmm.
things, um, and you became a peer leader, a youth mentor.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So how did
So
that come about?
with the nonprofit, it was all about youth empowerment, and I really became passionate about serving the community. And so as I was training, I became part of the demo team, and so we would go out to different places that would either hire the ensemble, or well, it wasn't the ensemble, but the martial arts um, demo team. We would go and do demonstrations. And then I've always just had a passion for health and wellness. And so that's also where my mentor and I were aligned. So he kind of he was a musician, phenomenal musician, phenomenal at everything that he did, really. But he also was the executive director and the founder of the nonprofit, and he was an acupuncturist, and he was the first Black acupuncturist here in the state of Colorado. So we would often have conversations about medicine, and he was always about making sure that those two things were an integral part and a service that he offered to the community. And so the youth mentorship kind of came out of a twofold situation, I guess. Being passionate about what I did and wanting to share that with other people, because the martial arts helped me, and I don't know if my mom is on here, she could probably attest to that. I was I was a bit of a space cadet, as a kid, in this way of um, just not being grounded, and that's what martial arts, or that's what Kubigana did for me, was to help me be grounded so that I could really focus on some of the things that I wanted to do, and the benefit that I got from that, I wanted to share that. And so that's how that came about.
Wow. Yeah, you're not normal.
No.
I've been told all my life that I was not normal, but you took it to another level.
Yeah.
Um,
Even in that experience of going out with the demo team, the other part is there. I'm one of two um, female black belts. So myself, and there's one other person. Her name is Sheba, and she is in it. The title of the rank that we hold is Induna, and since we're women, it's Induna Kazi. So Kazi is means queen. And so we are the two in our system that hold that rank. The rest of them are men. And so it was I guess, a double edged sword, because I found something that I was super passionate about, but That doesn't, when you're doing a martial art and, we're doing flips and kicks and weapons and performing in all kinds of places, concrete, wood, in parks, in all kinds of different places, and you're trying to tell someone. I can remember this experience where we were demonstrating strength and conditioning techniques, and one of them was to do knuckle push-ups. And so we were on concrete, and so I was doing my push-ups and everything, and so I'm proud. I'm like, yeah, I did it, and I'm doing my thing. And so I remember this look on this mother's face, and she was looked like maybe considering bringing her daughter to the system to take classes, and it was almost like she saw a ghost and was like, absolutely not, my daughter's not going to be doing any of this. So I while I understood it, it just made it hard to make that connection, because it was something that was super empowering. And my teacher, my instructor, Dr. Meeks, was very much a proponent of both men and women, or young men and young girls, being promoted and being self-assured. And so that was all of what the program was about. And so he loved it when young girls would come, because he was very adamant that we needed to be able to do the same things, or be able to defend ourselves even in basic situations. So it was an eye-opening experience for that, because I wanted to share so much, and he's like, absolutely, we need more women to come to this thing. But the fortitude that it requires is not for the faint of heart. So in that way, it was a little different. So
yes, I can imagine. Oh, that's a silly question. I'm calling it a silly question because how dare you? But what about this you get into? Listen, I have no idea, because I had private lessons, and then after my private lessons, I continued to study on my own. So there was no one like, okay, now you've graduated to this field, or you've graduated to this field. That's not the experience I had. All I knew is, I could kick butt. That's all I knew.
Oh, okay. So you can throw them. Oh, okay. Have you?
I can throw them hands. I know how to do a proper fist. Okay, I know how to, and I got that flexibility. I can use legs and everything, So yeah. But Bill, I don't know. So back to our guest. So what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna take a small little break, and after the break, I want to get into the wellness side of things.
Okay.
All right. So before we do that, for those of you that are on YouTube, this is what I'd like you to do. Subscribe. And for those of you that are on other platforms that you're watching, follow me. You never know what I have for you. And if you subscribe to my newsletter on my website, asiajamal.com or asiajamal.net, I have some secret stuff in there too. So, if you want the goods, you got to be connected. All right, so we're going to take this quick little break, and then when we come back, we're going to play Find the Fake. Here we go.
Jamal Rogers, and I'm a singer, songwriter, choreographer, voice actor, and I am the creator and talk show host of Pure Live. Pure is an acronym for perfectly undefined raw elegance. So naturally, we want our content to be pure, raw, and elegant. It airs live every Friday at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time on YouTube and Facebook. And if you'd like to see all of the episodes, you can reach it at asiajamal.com, ASIAJAMAL.com. Or if you'd like to be on the show, you can reach me at asia@asiajamal.com. Hope to see you soon.
Hope to see you soon. Oh, and I see my son on here. Hello, son. Thank you for joining. I love you. Okay, now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we are about to play Find the Face. The next of the game is you are going to see 4 statements, and one of them is not true. Your job is to guess which one is not true, and you can win a prize if you get it correctly. She is not going to tell you right away which one it is. We will talk about that later. So here we go. I'll be honest with you. Those were good because I was like, I don't know. I'm not really sure. They all look like they could be, but not really. I don't know. So okay, so here we are in part 2, the second part of our show. So I want to deal with the other part that you did. So first of all, I want to know what made you decide to deal with acupuncture.
That again was my godfather. So from I would say 6, I knew I wanted to do medicine and I knew I wanted to be a doctor. And all the way up until I got to college, was on the track for pre-med. And I remember having conversations with Dr. Meeks, and so I was discussing with him what I wanted to do, what I wanted to do with medicine. And I remember him challenging me, and he was like, "Then you don't want to do Western medicine." And so that threw me off, and I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" And so he said, with Western medicine, it's gonna, and some of those things were to help people in understanding. I always have had a fascination with the mind and the body and the correlation between the two, and how diseases form because
Mm-hmm.
of either your emotional state or your physiological state and everything in between. And so, wanting to address that and wanting to be able to address it in a holistic way is where our conversation started. And so that's where I started to learn more about traditional Chinese medicine and some of those holistic healing modalities, not just in Chinese medicine, but just across the board. And as we started to have more and more conversations, it became more and more clear to me that what he was doing was definitely something that I was interested in, and it this was over the course of years. And then what drove it home was I did his office management for about 15 years, and so I got to see all of the patients that he treated and um, things. And he was even my he treated me for my prenatal care, and um, the the I, I am cautious to use the word miracles because there's more, it's more than just a happenstance. But the transformation that the patients would have coming into the clinic, I can remember one man, he had crippling back and leg pain, and he had not walked or ran up his stairs in years. And he came in, got his first treatment, and he was very skeptical, even on the phone. Who is this? What is it about? Who, how long has he been treated? How many people has he treated? And what are they doing? And, all of that. And then he came in and, looking around the space, and it's not necessarily, his office was not the traditional doctor's office. And so you have all, us represented, Black people represented, African culture represented on the walls, affirmations, the colors, the music, everything. It was the whole vibe, walking in. And so that also paired with the cultural center. So you have this marriage of businesses. And once he left, he called back. And I think maybe 2 days after that, he called and he said, I'm sitting at home and I needed something. It was something simple, that was upstairs. And he said, before I knew it, I had run upstairs to get what I needed. And so he was like, I haven't been able to run up my stairs. He's like, I didn't just walk, I ran up the stairs. And so
Wow.
there's a host of stories like that. I've seen people come in that had cancer and they were actively in chemo. And so
Mhm.
one of which was a very well known person in our community, and diagnosed with cancer, and would come after his chemotherapy treatments so that he could get acupuncture, and then he would go back to work. And people were like, well, how are you don't look like you're in chemo. And so it was the process of having the radiation therapy, but acupuncture helping to balance the system out so his energy would stay up. And so again, I could talk for hours about the things that I've seen, and the transformations that I've seen in the clinic from his work. And so that was a great inspiration. And as I was kind of making my way, I finished on my undergrad with my degree in psychology and was looking to kind of move on. And it wasn't until actually Dr. McCaston that I decided to go to acupuncture school. And that was, I think, more of it was just a culmination of things of knowing that I wanted to move further in the direction of like a holistic health practice, and understanding what the medicine actually was doing. And it fit. And it was, again, similar to me coming to martial arts. We kind of found each other, acupuncture and I, or the traditional Chinese medicine. So
So I'm going to ask about specific things because myself, I've had a lot of medical conditions over the years.
okay.
And, you know, uh, every time that I've talked to a doctor, they're like, oh, you're awfully young to be dealing with these things. I'm like, oh, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
I know. So, one thing I want to do, and then I'm going to mention something else as well. So, fibromyalgia. I was
Mm-hmm.
diagnosed with this some years back. I don't remember exactly how many years back. I want to say like 7 years back. And I was on so many medications and things. And me, I have a habit of cutting stuff off because I'm like, that ain't working, so I ain't not using that. And people will tell me, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to be weaned off. Yeah, it's not working for me. I don't care. I'll deal with deal with the consequences. I don't want to use that anymore. And so I'm wondering, like, with all the things that you've seen, have you had any patients dealing with fibromyalgia?
Absolutely. And so, what I think is so effective, and so I want to make this distinction, that there's Western medicine, which has its form and its function. And so, it's really, really great for immediate therapies that are needed. So, if you cut your toe off, acupuncture is not gonna it's not gonna help that or holistic medicine. We can get you situated once you're done. And so when we start having these conversations around health, um, with traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture, we're looking at the whole person. So, in your case, how you said the physicians would come to you and say, "Oh, well, we've never seen someone as young as you dealing with some of these things." Then the first thing, in my profession, I'm going to start asking you questions about your environment, your emotional state. What
Mhm.
is going on with your mind state?
Mhm.
Because all of these, what they call psychosomatic components, make a difference. So, psycho meaning the mind, and somatic meaning the body,
Mhm.
are they they have a relationship, and so that would be an intake, and to address that, what would be for you as a person that's dealing with fibromyalgia, um, would not necessarily be the same treatment as the next two or three people, because your root cause might be something different. And so in acupuncture,
Makes
we're
sense.
always looking for the root cause, because what you're experiencing, even with fibromyalgia, with the pain and those things, are symptoms. And so we don't want to just mask the symptom, or we want to eliminate the symptom, but we want it to be in a way that the symptom doesn't come back. And the only way to truly address that is by addressing the root cause. Where is this stemming from? What caused this issue?
Okay. So, what would be your approach? And all of that makes sense. Um, so when I was diagnosed with the fibromyalgia, they said it was due to a surgery that I had.
Mm-hmm.
They said it disrupted a nerve
Mm-hmm.
and then caused this fire of pain
Mm-hmm.
all over my body. So I was like, oh great, got a surgery to fix one thing and I got another problem.
Right.
um, but so in addition to that, I was also, well, I actually currently am dealing with headaches. And one of the jobs that I worked, they brought in this group of massage therapists, and they deal with acupuncture and everything as well. And they said to me, "You might want to consider this." I said, "For my headache?"
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, okay, I've been diagnosed with tension headaches, migraines, and cluster headaches. I'm like, I don't see what you can do for me. But so, have you seen any relief for those that are dealing with those severe headaches?
Absolutely. And so one of the questions that we were asked in yes, in that way. So if you don't mind, that we kind of use you as an example, do
Sure.
you mind sharing where you feel the pain when you have a headache?
Yes. So when it's a cluster headache, I feel it like normally on the right side of my head. It's over my eye, and it kind of like goes back to like right here. Yeah, and then it's just there. And now the time period it varies. Sometimes it'll last for months, sometimes weeks. It'll last a long time. But when it comes to like a migraine, it it's different because it like wraps around. So it's like it'll go here and then it'll go down.
Mm-hmm.
And like I'll feel it in my ears and it'll like feel like they're popping kind of thing, but they don't pop. It's just pain.
Mm-hmm.
And then the tension headaches, they're just all in here, and I can't seem to. make any of them go away. I have medication and I use sumatriptan, and they assist with like the tension headache or the migraines, but those cluster headaches, it's a no go.
That's a you have to go lay down
Yes.
and and turn off all the lights. So, so the reason why I ask you that is for acupuncture and for anybody that's watching that's not familiar with acupuncture, there are what we call meridians or channels in the body, and they correspond to our organs. Now, that channel distinction or our organ distinction is a little different than what you would consider in a Western medicine. But some of the areas that you were talking about or what you were describing is with, for instance, the headache that kind of is here and wraps around back here. That's the
Hmm.
gallbladder. And so I would suspect, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong, that those cluster headaches might occur in very stressful situations. So if you have a lot of work going on, a lot of stress, in times that you might have had um, an altercation with someone, or you're frustrated about something, or you have something in your life that's going on that you might want to see change in, that you can't really make change in, then you might be more prone to those types of cluster headaches.
That's accurate.
Would you say that's it?
Hmm.
Okay. And so for the other ones that are kind of going across here, could be a couple of things. So you have the meridians or the organ systems that kind of are touched that we can address on the face, are the urinary bladder, the gallbladder, and so these are some of the starting points of some of those channels. The stomach, large intestine, and there's several of the other organ systems that have what they call branches. And so the best way to think about that is like a tree. And so as the tree comes up from the ground, it has, matter of fact, if you're looking behind me, as you can see the tree, it has the
Hmm.
trunk of it, and then it spreads out, and then it has all of the branches. And then each one of those branches may have smaller little fingerlings that come off of it. And so some of those little fingerlings, we call those um, their terms different things, like a low channel, that the low channels connect two different organs. And so with some of those headaches that go across here, could be still gallbladder, some of it could be stomach, some of it could be maybe even related to your digest stomach and large intestine, where it could be related to maybe your diet, something that you ate. You might not be as well hydrated. This going kind of down into this area, more stress related as well, is that gallbladder channel. The gallbladder is one of the more, I consider it one of the more, not elusive, but it goes all over the body. It touches a little bit of everything. So the gallbladder starts here and it ends on your toe, um, on your second toe from the outside, and travels all from here and kind of zigzags, and it does a whole bunch of different stuff. So in that way, um, by looking at, maybe if you came to my office and you were experiencing one of those headaches, your body is going to tell on you, basically. So your complexion might change. The way that your eyes look, the whites of your eyes may be a certain color. The way that you present, and so we're looking at all of those different things. I'm going to be observing when you come into the clinic, how you walk in, how do you speak when you're speaking to me during that period of time, or maybe how we're talking now. Is it labored in your breathing? Are you, just keeping it together and just making
Hmm.
something happen? All of those things. Your tongue is another major diagnostic that we use, and then the pulse. And so from your pulse, we can feel, there's three positions, and so that is a really good indicator of what's going on, and we want to get like the whole picture. So again, it's any sign or symptom that you have, especially with like a cluster headache or a fibromyalgia. There are environmental things. So your surgery would be one thing that might have, sparked that to happen. It could also be other things that are going on with you. So we want to get a whole picture. And Chinese medicine, they describe it as the landscape of the patient. And it's very poetic, but understanding the makeup of that person, and so that includes the mind, what's going on, how do you relate to your world, were there any traumatic events that happened or were happening around the time that you had your surgery that might have crossed over, is there any emotional trauma that you experienced with that surgery? So those are some of the things that we don't often consider when we're going into a surgery. Is that's a trauma,
Mhm.
like yes, it's going to
Right.
fix something, but you're creating a trauma in the body. And so there's the recovery from everything being fixed, but then you also have the recovery of what happens when you go home. And then the other factor that we have to talk about is people of color. What was your experience like with your physician? Were the nurses
Mhm.
and the doctors attentive to you? Did they answer your questions? Did they make you feel comfortable? Did they just push you
Right.
out once everything was done? Thanks. Have a good day. Bills in the mail. Um, what was your setting like? Were you able to care for yourself? Were you able to take the appropriate time to heal, or did you have to go back to work and make it through and, push through? So all of those are factors that could contribute to what you or any other person that's experiencing something similar or any health concern. It's a holistic picture, so we have to look at all of those different components. And that's what would happen in a general intake is we're going to go through, and it happens a lot sooner than, or a lot faster than what you would think. We can kind of get all
Mhm.
of those key details, and we don't always have to ask all the questions based on what you're coming in with. So I think that was a really long way to answer your question.
No,
But
I appreciate every bit of it. I think I want you to come
I
back.
would come back.
Yes, I think we need a part two to this because there's so much more that I want to know, and I imagine that I'm not the only one. Um,
Absolutely.
so there's definitely a lot more to deal with, and the whole holistic approach of handling things. That's what I've been looking for, and I feel like even people that don't realize they're looking for it, that's what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Absolutely.
So I definitely want you to come back. But before we get to the very end, I promise I will play the game again and then you will give the answer. So we are going to go through this game one more time. Find the fake. Here we go. All right, y'all. I know a few of you are listening and watching and you did not guess, so it is your fault. Um, Okay, I'll deal with that as soon as she answers this question. There's another question. So, which one was the fake?
Which one was it? Was
Yes.
it fake? Okay. The fake is I do not have three dogs. I don't have any dogs, to be honest. But that was my fake.
What? That was so creative. I mean, you gave specific names for each dog. That was
I was
good.
trying
That
to make
was
it
good.
good.
That was good. I give you your props for that one. Um, wow. Um, so there is a question out here. Says, can you share any advice on how we can feel empowered and better advocate for ourselves in medical situations? And
That is
I
an
appreciate
excellent
that
question.
question. Thank you. Yes.
So first of all, great question. So what I would say is understand that whenever you're any medical professional that you're going to, you are with you all the time. And so line of defense, and you if there's any questions that you have, maybe before you go in, if you know that you're going to have an appointment, go ahead and write those questions down. And no question is too silly, and it's your doctor's job. They're there for you. So any questions that you may have, and also keeping in mind, especially if you're going to a Western practitioner, they're going to be on probably about a 15-minute time crunch. So making sure that you're clear about the questions that you might have, making sure that if you're unsure if your doctor or your practitioner is a good fit for you because they're not able to answer your questions, or they may not answer the questions to the best of your, that you feel satisfied with, to advocate for yourself would be, you can let them know that they are there for you. And by having those questions written down, it gives you a chance to be able to ask them in a way that is short and concise, and hopefully they should be able to give some answers. And as an aside, if your practitioner doesn't make you feel comfortable or welcome, then that might not be the practitioner for you. And you do have the right to have a second opinion, or you do have the right to request someone else. And as I say that, I also have a mindfulness that not every, based on, your insurance situation, you may not be able to easily navigate to another practitioner, but most times you can find someone else that can better fit your needs. um and that question is almost a show in and of itself. And then the other part of it is, don't self-diagnose, but do some research. It's nothing wrong with getting on Google and finding out about your body. What are the different parts of it? What does it do? And to be an advocate, you also have to know what's going on with you, which means that you need to pay attention. Which is one of the things that I'm very big on is patient education. So paying attention to the signs that you're experiencing, and those could be very simple. My toe hurt yesterday, and it's been hurting for the past 3 weeks. It might not seem significant to you, but to a medical practitioner, those can be life saving signs or symptoms that they would not necessarily know, or they might not even think to ask. And if there's something that you are needing, then ask your practitioner and see if they're able to meet you, to and to improve your relationship. So that's the short answer. I hope that it was as concise. I could say so much more about that, or I always have a wealth of information that I want to just like push out there. So um, hopefully that answers the question.
Yes, it definitely answered the question for me. Um, sincerely, what I want to do is I want to bring you back, because I have so many more questions and you have been
Okay.
so helpful. We are towards the end of the show. What I like to do with my guests is give them an opportunity to give words of wisdom to those that are watching and listening. So here is your time to give your words of wisdom.
Okay. So my words of wisdom would be, trust yourself. And if you don't yet trust yourself, then the first place to start is to ask the question why you might not trust yourself. And at the core of it, um, be able to have a daily practice that allows you to stimulate your mind, stimulate your body, and also stimulate your spiritual growth and development. When you have all three of those things, they will help you decipher or break apart maybe some of the struggles or challenges that you may be facing, and give you the tools or some of the answers to overcome some of those hurdles.
All right. Amen. And thank you. Thank you so much for those words of wisdom. And for you all, for me, remember to embrace God's perfect design, which is you. And we will be back here Friday night, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we will continue to give you that good stuff, that good wisdom. And of course, I will let you
Can
know.
I
Oh, you got something to say?
one thing? I just have one more thing. Most
Yeah.
importantly, gratitude. Gratitude for just even the small things. And I'm done.
Agreed. Agreed. That is actually very important. So yes, we're gonna have her back, you guys. So any questions you have, go ahead, write them down, pile them up, get them ready, and you will know when we have her back. I'm so excited to do so. So tonight, good night,
Good night. Thank you so much.
and you're welcome. Thank you so much for being on the show. And we'll be back here Friday night, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Have a good evening. Bye bye. Love
Bye, everyone.
you.
Although we